Hi there, and welcome to week 4. Today I'm talking about specialized knowledge and organized planning. And I'm going to start with this quote in it's chapter 5 of Think and Grow Rich, because it explains why I'm combining these two chapters. Here it is. Knowledge is only potential power. It becomes power only when and if it is organized into definite plans of action and directed to a definite end. And so we're going to talk about, again, tools and techniques to implement this into your life, whether it's to accomplish that desire that you put out there into the world, or really just accomplish anything. And I feel like that's something I know a lot of you haven't actually locked into your definite purpose or your chief aim. For me, it's becoming a New York Times bestselling author. But I'm actually, continually adding to that. I'm adding some of my architectural goals. I'm adding personal goals. And so, the idea, just to reiterate, for your desire is to create something in your mind that you can reach for. If you don't have something specific that you're trying to accomplish, then you won't actually get there. And really none of these things that I'm helping to teach you will help you, because you're not actually applying them yet to anything. So hopefully you can really lock in your specific goal that you're accomplishing. And we're going to talk about that also in the planning section of this. So try not to be too terribly long-winded, but I haven't had a lot of adult time this week, so we're gonna have a chat. I've got my hot water today. I don't know what you guys are drinking or eating. I already had my coffee, so had to switch to water. The first thing I want to talk about for specialized knowledge is the two different kinds of knowledge that Napoleon Hill talks about. One of them is general knowledge, obviously the opposite of specialized knowledge. And general knowledge in our day and age can be found on Google. And it's also a major reason why I don't really harp on my kids doing well in memorizing the facts and the things in school, because I feel like it's kind of like ignorant of our school systems even to continue to make them memorize facts and things that they can just find on the internet. But that's a whole nother story. So the first kind of knowledge is general knowledge. And it's kind of a funny story that he uses in the book. He talks about Henry Ford is put on trial for something. I don't remember what it is, and they're trying to prove that he's ignorant and uneducated because he didn't have I don't know, maybe he was one of the people that's only had a 6th grade education. And so they were asking him who is Benedict Arnold, and these questions that now today we could Google, but he was basically I can ask any number of my staff people and push a button to find out the answer. So why would I want to clog up my mind with this knowledge that just really is worthless? And not that it's just worthless, but it can be found so easily out there in the world. And so the idea of that is it really proved that he was, in fact, a very highly educated, not highly educated, but highly intelligent person. And because he used the resources outside of him instead of his own knowledge. So that said, Specialized knowledge is basically the very specific information that you need to do the job that you're going to do in order to attain the amount of money that you want, or specialized knowledge to accomplish your goal. So if you said, you wanted to open like a fitness studio, you probably would need specific like fitness training, certifications, and that kind of thing. So it is actually talking about very specific and specialized knowledge that will help you to attain your goal. Obviously, like for me, I am an architect and I went to a lot of schooling and took a lot of exams and have a lot of continuing education to do my job as an architect. And that's great, but I feel like one of the things I am lacking in is my technical expertise and also my computer rendering skills. So both of those things are specialized knowledge that I have been pursuing by watching YouTube videos and studying construction details and that kind of thing, because it's important for me in order to reach the far off goal of becoming like world famous architect. It's important for me to actually attain that specialized knowledge. And so in the worksheet that I have for this week, I have a couple of like places that you can find the knowledge, different suggestions basically, and a lot of quotes from the book that just reiterate that knowledge is only potential power. Like you actually have to use it and use it towards a goal in order to really get the full benefit of the knowledge. And so, that is honestly the biggest thing from the first chapter, specialized knowledge, that I want to talk about today. And I'm going to talk about it now in conjunction with organized planning, because like, let's say my goal of being like a world-renowned architect, I need some kind of plan in place that would get me to that. It might include designing projects and entering them into like design awards, or the idea is to have a plan, and the bottom line with it is to not be married to the plan. In the chapter on organized planning, Napoleon Hill says, let me read this quote. He says, "Most people fail because of their lack of persistence in creating new plans to take place of the ones that have failed." So if you can't pivot, if you can't be flexible enough to realize that defeat is part of growing and learning, then, that's on you. Like, it's something that's in every part of life, is trying and failing and making things better. And so, I've kind of got on a little rant there. But the idea is just not to be so attached to the plan that you almost don't even remember what the goal is. And so being able to be flexible in changing your plan as you go is a very important piece of accomplishing your ultimate goal. And the last thing I really want to talk about with creating a plan. And early on in our study, in our course, I talked about how you may not know the plan, but on your card that you wrote your goal, let me find my card. Well, I have mine memorized. So I say I'm going to be a New York Times bestselling author by April 1st, and I'm going to accomplish it by doing anything that I need to do in order to make that happen. And so that's not a specific plan, and that's okay, because I feel like I am open every day to receiving more parts of the plan, more steps in the process. And I don't specifically have the whole plan listed out, but I know the end point, and I know some of the steps in getting there, like selling 3,000 copies of my book and, becoming an influencer on Instagram. And so I have some of those things written down, but you don't always have to have the whole plan, but you do need to stay receptive to the fact that it may hit you and you may need to write it down at some point. And the other thing that I think is important that I just learned recently about this whole idea of setting a goal and moving toward accomplishing it is having a time frame closer to about 6 months. And my brother and I have discussed this for quite a while, like how far out do you put your goal and your date to accomplish your goal by? Because I could say, I want to earn $1 million, but when? Is it a 5-year plan? Is it a 10-year plan? Is it a 1-year plan? So if I have a goal, it's better to just create it for a 6-month plan. So if I make no money right now, or make, $10,000 a year or something like that, I would set my financial goal for 6 months to make $50,000, because that would be a big stretch from where I'm at currently. And it would also give me something to start moving towards, and figure out my specialized knowledge of what do I need to add to my own repertoire to get there. Maybe it's a marketing person. Maybe it's, something else. But the idea is, until you have a specific goal, see, I'm saying down here, 6 months from now, you have a specific goal that you want to accomplish, then you start setting the plans. You can set kind of milestone plans in place, and you can also be open to the universe to what is the next right step at this moment. I think sometimes we get lazy and don't realize that we actually have to keep moving forward and have to keep taking steps toward our goal. And often if you don't have that goal in your mind or on paper, especially on paper, I talked about that last week, it's not likely that it's going to be accomplished, because obviously it doesn't exist out there in the world. So write a goal down. You can give yourself 6 months, and for the purposes of our class, maybe you're halfway there, which is, again, further than you would be had you not set the goal at all. And I'm going to close with, I don't know if this was originally a Napoleon Hill quote or not, but a winner never quits and a quitter never wins. And I think it's super cliche, but I feel like it's so true, and it's very aligned with these messages with specialized knowledge and organized planning. Because specialized knowledge, even the idea, I always say, if you are not continuing to learn and grow, you're devolving and dying, in my personal opinion. And so, I would just really encourage you to continue learning, continue formulating your plan, and moving forward toward your desire. And for our part 2, our technique for this week, we are going to be tapping into the specialized knowledge of people around us. And I've got a couple activities for you that are more like left brain analytical kind of activities. And I really feel like this is one of those tasks that you can really get into, like the brain mind side of yourself, and make lists of people you know. Make lists of your own qualities that you have that you can offer to someone else. This all kind of ties into masterminds, which is, I think, in 2 weeks, a couple of weeks down the road. But what the purpose of forming a mastermind is, has to do with like what you need to accomplish your goal, like who has a specialized knowledge that you might need and what do you have to offer. So this is a little bit in preparation for that. But I also have you doing an alignment writing exercise that starts tapping into the knowledge of someone that you like admire, or someone like, for me, even though Gary Vaynerchuk and I have a little history, I still think he is like the most wise businessman and entrepreneur that's alive currently. So sometimes I will, in my meditation or just in my journaling time, I'll like tap into like, what would Gary do in this situation? And we'll get into this later in the book, in the subconscious and the brain and the sixth sense. But again, just kind of laying the groundwork and the foundation for a skill that you'll be using to create the life that you want with tools that you already have. And so, so go through the writing exercises, and I've really minimized them. So there's only a couple of writing prompts that you can just flip through on your phone and write out like physically on a notebook or in your journal. And I really think that is a valuable manifestation. You're literally turning your thoughts into things when you write them. So I hope that those techniques are helpful for you this week. And for the meditation exercise, I'm just encouraging you to take like three deep breaths, but do it intentionally. Do it when you can be in your car, like every morning when you get in your car to go to work, take a couple deep breaths. And if you live in the north like we do, you're cold. And so those deep breaths will be very intentional. But just take 3 deep breaths and try to do it every day. And I just feel like the quieting of our mind helps us to connect with our own inner voice. And that is so important in this process of really creating the life that you want. So thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you watching, and hope that you're having an amazing week. Bye.